Hi everybody, welcome to Aspect Exchange part number 2. Can we accept or reject an incoming spirit? Can the body? And how are we connected spirit to body? The reason I wanted to bring these points up and make another video about them is because I noticed on the postings on Facebook where they're talking about walk-ins and Aspect Exchange that there were some misconceptions. They were the same misconceptions that I had up until March of 2018 when I had my Aspect Exchange, which showed me that they are misconceptions, they are not truths. And then I also realized that because they're so widely accepted, it tells me that they are part of the default programming that we have coming into this reality, and in order to make it seem more real. So I wanted to kind of go through those on the paper that I have here so we can kind of clear up those misconceptions. The first is that our body is a separate conscious being that can decide to accept or reject a host driver. That an agreement has to be made between the spirit and the body before the spirit can enter. It doesn't. That is a false statement. The idea came from the New Age movement where the concept is the spirit enters the womb when the fetus is still in there, that they get together, they work out a deal, they get to know each other, decide if the body wants to allow that spirit to come in, and if they make an agreement, the spirit enters the body and they have a joint adventure. Well, that isn't true, because that indicates that the body itself has its own consciousness, awareness, and can survive without the spirit. And you have a lot of other religious teachings that talk about Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, other entities that can enter your body in order to guide you toward their deity or to help you out. Well, that mere fact that it's accepted around the world tells you it's part of the default programming, and it just wants us to slip deeper into the illusion of our reality. Our body is only a vehicle we use to navigate within this physical reality. On its own, it's incapable of anything. Without the driver, the body is like a car sitting in a parking lot without a battery. It's full of potential and everything is ready to go, but it's unable to do anything until the driver gets in, supplies a battery, and starts it up. You let that car sit there in a parking lot without the driver, and over time it's going to corrode and just fall apart. And our body does the same thing. If it doesn't have a driver, the spirit entity to activate it, it is considered what we call dead, and it dissolves. That concept alone should tell you that the body is not a separate long-term entity on its own, that it's connected directly to the spirit and can't function without that part, because the spirit leaves the body stays here and dies. So the body doesn't have the control. The computer that runs the car, when you start it up, starts working, and it operates according to wherever the computer has been programmed within that car, because most all cars now run on the computer system. It has no will of its own, no choice who drives it or what it does. And our body and the brain is the same way. And when the driver, it's the driver that connects our physical and spiritual realms, or what we call physical and spiritual realms, although all reality is a spiritual realm, because physical is an illusion just as much as everything else. It's the driver that, when it turns on the body, it activates the brain, which is our reality translator, as I like to call it. It can also help change the brain's programming and the beliefs that let this body, the vessel, do more, and change how it translates the vibrational reality around it. When we have an aspect exchange or a new driver, we get more spirit energy versus the ego energy that is kind of the default programming, and allows us in it to overwrite some of the default ego programs, change the beliefs. Hence, it changes how we operate and perceive the reality around us. So it's like taking your car into a dealership or putting on new parts and redoing the program. You can change how that vehicle is going to operate, and we can do the same thing within this body once the driver comes in. And that's why we have an aspect exchange. It's like teachers in school. We have teachers from kindergarten through college. They're all teachers, but each one of them is designed to teach you a different thing and take you to a different level, but you have to have the background to build up to those levels. And that's the same with our drivers, the aspect exchange. We get them as we move through our life, and we're ready for different changes. In order to be upgraded, you have to have certain levels to be upgraded to from another level. So we have more and more aspect exchanges, more and more drivers come in, and they take you to the level you needed to get to the next level. That's why we have them. Most of the time we never know what happens, but I went into that in the other vehicle. Now, I know there are a lot of people that are worried about the idea of evil spirits and demons coming into their body. That's that term of a walk-in. And the idea that that can happen is what has created a lot of fear in people. And I want to clear that up as well, that there is no spirit, no driver can enter your body or anybody's body anytime it wants. So get over your fear of being possessed by an evil spirit. You know, any demons or evil spirit that you encounter are basically aspects of you showing that you still have fear. You know, I talked to a lady a couple of years ago, and I spent quite a bit of time talking to her at different times over the years because we connected fairly well. And she was one of those people who saw entities, and demon entities as she called them, or alien entities, and it looked more demonic to her. And when I first told her that they are aspects of her, showing her she still has fear, she didn't accept that. And it took probably a year before she came to that conclusion herself, that these entities were really in fact her, and they were showing her she had fear. She confronted that fear, basically laughed at them, and they left, and they never bothered again because she confronted her own fear. So any demons you encounter, any demons you think are entering you, are you. Face them, deal with them, and they're gone. It's not a foreign entity that's going to take you over and have you twisting your head like in The Exorcist. Who, what, when, where, and how we changed drivers was determined when nothing, which is all that exists, had a thought, and that thought created source, which is light, energy, and vibration, which became what we call physical matter. All roles and all possibilities within this universe were created and played out at that moment in time. If you don't understand what time is, that all time is simultaneous, past, present, and future already exist. Each of them, everything that ever happened in this universe and could happen in this universe exists as a possibility within a vibration. It is not in physical matter until we are experiencing it. So if you want to have more of an understanding of time, I did do a video on time. You can take a look at that, and maybe that'll help you out a little bit with that. So our body is designed as it is. We were born where we were, into the family that we have, and we had the experiences we did and progress as it does because of the role we and it were designed to play. Our life experiences are not the results of some chance or random spirit wandering around, deciding to take our body out for a spin anytime it wants. Think about the idea that the life that you have and who and what you are physically and how you were made and what you can and can't do and how you think all direct you down certain paths. They limit the paths and possibilities that you can play out. You know, you're told when you're a kid, oh, you can do anything. That's bullshit. You know, if you're born 3 foot tall and that's what you grew up to be, you're not going to play professional basketball. Plain and simple. It's just the things that we have within our body, how we're designed, helps to limit us in the possibilities and the directions that we're going to be going, which is why I tell you in some of the other videos that you do not have free will. You have the illusion of free will. You're simply here to play out an experience that was already thought, and now you're doing it in what we call in person. And so we are the writer, the director, the producer, and the actor in the role, and to make it more believable, we forgot all that, so we think that we and the movie sets around us are real. And when I say we were the writer, our roles were designed and created at that moment of creation. So in a way, yes, we are a part of it because we are all part of the same thing. This gets another one. The new aspect of the driver is from our soul, because there is only one soul. There's not all these different entities and souls out there. Everything that exists is an aspect of a single soul. And when it enters and drives our vehicle, our body, it's part of the journey that we're supposed to be on. It's the time it's supposed to happen. This was all set up ahead of time as well. And as I mentioned, when you're on that path with the teachers and you're ready for the next level, you get a new driver in to take you to that point. Like having a beginning driver, a 15-year-old driver get into a car, they're not going to be able to do as much in that car as if you had a professional race car driver. You know, there's a difference, and that's what happens within our bodies as well. We still have limitations because we've accepted those, but we can make modifications on them. I went through some of that in the other video. Let's see here. Okay, at no point can the body say that it's time for you to leave, because without you, spirit, it disappears. So the body does not have control or command over what you do. It is the vehicle you operate here, period. You can operate within it. You have limitations and some but parameters that you have within it, but the body is not in control. It does not tell the spirit it needs to get out. You know, these people like to talk about how the spirit's had enough and gets tired of the life and wants to get out. It has nothing to do with it. That's crap too. You get another spirit driver in because it's time to have another spirit driver. It's all aspects of you. They don't get tired or bored or fed up with it. It just doesn't work that way. That makes it seem random and chance, and that's bull. It is not. Let's see. I'd say I'm not going to cover into out-of-body experiences and how that affects the body, but I will say we're not completely out of the body during those times, and I'm not going to go over the concept of death and how that affects the body and so on, because those would be other videos if you wanted to do that. But you can think about those things for yourself. So that's kind of the idea, is that the body does not have the say-so of whether the spirit comes in or does not come in. It's all set up ahead of time, and it is all controlled as part of our experience. So get over the fact that your body is a controlling, conscious, separate entity. It is not. Matter of fact, the other misconception is that the body and the reality are real. They are not. And one of the big ideas that people have is that the physical body is connected to the spiritual body through a long silver cord. That's an illusion. Because it's an illusion, and so is the body, we don't need some earthly master. Because it's an illusion, we don't actually have that cord. You have to remember, it's an illusion of a energetic connection put into a physical terms because we live in a physical reality, and that's how it's viewed. But it is not. It's an energetic connection, and because of that, we don't need some earthly master or some trained monk to cut the cord so we can change spirit drivers or get released from the spirit body connection. The energetic connection can be released by the spirit because it's energy and not physically connected. I know it's a hard concept for people to understand, that what reality actually is, but I've had the experience, and so have many others that have been seen what reality is, so we understand that it is not what we think it is. And I do have some videos on that if you want to look at those. The first thing I want to talk about real is I want to tell you how I define the word real, so you understand when I'm using it what I'm referring to. And that is, for me to be real, something has to be eternal, no beginning and no end. Well, anything that is a creation has a beginning, otherwise it wouldn't be a creation. And if it has a beginning, it must have an end, therefore it's not real. Because how can you say, well, it was real? It doesn't make any sense. And that's the same thing with the body and the reality around you. Everything around you, including the body, will decay and destroy over time, which shows you that it's not real. Whether something exists for seconds or trillions of years, it doesn't matter. It's still not real because it will disappear over time. So remember that our physical reality is an allegoric translation of a vibration and an energy, and that the cord many talk about is really just an energetic connection that we see as a cord, because as I talked about, we translate it into physical terms. So those who can see the energies oftentimes have seen that. They see it as an energetic connection. They don't see it as an actual silver cord. They see it as energy. So anyway, I think that covers the two misconceptions, so enjoy the rest of the day.